Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, it's Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is Super Wild Card Weekend. Oh, yeah, another one right here, ready for us. I don't know, what is this, 3, 4 years now they've been doing the Super Wild Card thing, James?
I think it's three.
3? Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm trying to remember. Our first year we did it, was there a Super Wild Card Weekend the first year? I don't think there was. No, because we were on the 16 game schedule when we did our first year. So yeah, this has got to be the third one, right? It lined
Yeah,
up with that when they added the 17th game.
I'm trying to look it up real
Or
quick
maybe I got it wrong.
because
Here we go. Right off the bat, I'm getting us choked up on, on something. But while you're looking it up, I'll just let everybody know for tonight. It's episode 174. We are going to be kicking it off with Name That Stadium. Then we're going to do our recap of the past week. After that, we are going to do a recap of our regular season game picks. Then we're going to sort of rewind all the way to our preseason predictions and just kind of like talk about where we were right, where we were wrong, what things changed with some of the teams and why they were so far off from some of our predictions. Then we're going to talk about our playoff bet, if you dare to take me on it, James. I know that I've got a nice little streak here on the regular season, but after that, we'll give you guys our game picks for Super Wild Card Weekend, and then we'll do our question of the week. So kind of a lot there for tonight, but I'm sure we'll probably skimp it a little bit on the news and some of these things just to keep it moving along. So yeah,
sorry, I'm distracted trying to find this shit, and it doesn't.
having a hard time finding the exact year.
Yeah, it's like I know it's like the only thing I can find is as of 2020, the four division winners, 1 through 4, if teams are tied, blah blah blah. Posted for 2021 was the
Okay.
first year. There
So
we go.
21, 22, 23.
Yeah, so 2021 season, so 21, 22, and 23. So this is the
Okay.
third year.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Yeah, that's all good, man. Sweet. Well, hey, James, when you're ready, man, why don't you do some Name That Stadium for us, bud?
All right, and I completely forgot where I was last week already. Um, yeah,
Yes. James is traveling the country. Nobody gives a shit, but we're doing it anyhow. Blah, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah,
nobody
blah.
gives a shit. I think I was in Miami last week, but anyways, part of the show, traveling country, going to different stadiums, host NFL games. If you first person guess right, you get an extra special shout out. Nobody fucking guesses anyway, so I don't even know why I go through this shit. Um, uh,
It's been a while, that's for sure.
yeah,
Let's see.
and last week I was
I'm trying to look at our video, but I'm only getting a sliver. I would bet it's
yeah
Miami.
I would bet it's Miami. Yep, it was Miami.
Okay.
I had to go back and look at the video, and it was Miami. It was a Sunday night game. It was probably one of the few games where you win and you're in. You win and it does really something. Like both teams were in the playoffs, but like it really mattered for who you were playing in the first round, as we talked about last week. It was between playing Pittsburgh and or Kansas City, playing at home or at Kansas City. Turns out for Miami, playing at Kansas City is going to be a really big detriment this week, because of the fact that it's supposed to be like the fourth coldest playoff game ever.
Oh, yeah, man.
And so I mean that sucks for them, but that's kind of the breaks. You should have been able to take care of Buffalo.
I know, dude. They shit the bed there, man. It was kind of like just going into the end of the season. they had such control over their own destiny,
Hmm.
and they just let it slip away. And then even that last game, man, it was like that last game that was in Miami, right?
Yeah, that was at home too, so
Yeah, that's the
there's no
thing. It
fucking
just
excuse.
Yeah, they just messed it up good there. But I mean, Buffalo was desperate. Well, actually, no, because Buffalo ended up making it in
Yeah,
regardless of
Buffalo,
that.
Buffalo, both of them were in basically regardless.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a scenario where, excuse me, the loser didn't make it. I think Buffalo had possibly clinched the week before.
Yeah, yeah, because I think it was the week before Buffalo was on the outside looking in,
Yeah,
and then the way that the AFC shook out, they ended up like being secured either way. So it wasn't as drastic, but still for the seeding, definitely a big deal, man.
yeah, because I think I remember even talking about like it doesn't the game doesn't mean anything for the playoffs. Both teams are in, and it's just a matter of who wins the division,
Yep.
and basically who wants to avoid playing Miami. And I wanted the scenario I wanted was Miami playing at Kansas City. Like,
So
I
you
mean,
got it.
yeah, because the league robbed us. So the league robbed us first off by putting the Kansas City Miami game in Miami at Kansas City. Tyreek Hill
Oh
returned to
yeah,
Kansas City in
international.
fucking Germany. Now the NFL robs us this weekend by putting that fucking game on Peacock. It's like, seriously, what
Uh,
the fuck?
that's the Peacock game. I mean, I have
Yeah.
Peacock, but still, it just I don't know if I told you about the Peacock thing where, so right now I get it for free because I'm an Xfinity subscriber,
Uh-huh.
but they sent me an email, and this was like 3 months ago. They sent me an email saying that in like June 2025, it'll start charging me automatically like 4.99 a month or something. I was like, what the fuck? It's so far away that they're
Hmm.
sending the notice out. It's like obviously nobody's going to remember that. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden in June 2025, people are just going to start getting billed for it, and it's going to be so small in comparison to the rest of their cable bill that they're not going to even pay attention to it. But uh, I was
Yeah,
like,
they're
oh, these sneaky bastards, man.
just gonna assume the cable bill went up.
Yeah, yeah, these sneaky bastards. But I mean, hey, I'll get to watch this one, and then yeah, they're just hosing us on the streaming, dude, because they've already set the stage for YouTube to get one of theirs next year or even the year after, however it's going to work out. And so,
Yeah, but YouTube doesn't have a fucking TV station.
oh yeah,
Like,
they do now,
they do now? Oh
or
shit.
or it's like a paid. I don't know if it's like TV per se, but they have YouTube has paid options, man.
Yeah, but I mean but it's live TV, so like YouTube relies on like the broadcast from a different company that they buy and charge for. So I don't know, like
Oh,
for
I think
Peacock,
I think they're
Peacock,
setting the stage to do it, dude.
I mean they could be like, I mean, look at fucking what, like, doesn't it, like Disney Plus does fucking live sports now, or one of those shows like,
I would bet, because they own ESPN and they had to
yeah.
do it.
Oh
And
no, it was Max. Max does live sports,
okay,
which is HBO and Discovery.
yeah, yeah, the damn fucking streaming game, dude, just hosing us all. So,
Yeah.
and there was a minute there where some of them they would come out like individual channels would create a streaming service,
Yeah.
and then like a couple of months later they would cancel it because they couldn't get enough subscribers right off the bat. And I thought,
Mhm.
oh man, maybe it'll come back where there's only going to be a couple of them. No, like everybody and their mom has a fucking streaming service now.
Yeah. Speaking of streaming, it was an exciting week in my house as new episodes of Bluey came out today.
Yay!
So we got a little bit of a refresh on what the kids watch, which was so exciting
Some new material.
because it's new material, and I could I I'm starting to enjoy the show, to be honest with you, but That's
Yeah.
another story. It's just like I was so happy that we got some new content because I was getting sick of like the same old stuff. And it was like it would seem like I would always be in the room on the same episodes.
Yeah.
It wouldn't change. It'd always be like I'm not even gonna go into it but it'd always be like the same like 6 episodes where I was in the room because like when I'd leave the room, like like the wife will have it on in the background while they're playing and it's going, and then like I'll come back and I'll go back downstairs, and then it's like, oh, I just saw this episode yesterday, and then I'll go somewhere else, go do something else, go to work, come downstairs, oh, it's this episode, or in the morning time we'll turn it on while they're playing, and it's like, oh, it's this episode. It's like, why is it always the same fucking episodes I'm seeing?
Oh yeah. The kids, they like repetition, man. And yeah, around Christmas time, we probably watch Veranda Santa 20 times.
Yeah.
And, it's all right. I like Bluey, dude. Like part of it is, I heard that some of it is intended for the adults to be watching too, because like the writers are trying to like give the message to the parents of, hey, here's what you should be doing as a parent. Like when the kids want to play, you should be playing with them, and when the
Hmm.
kids do this, you should be handling it like this and whatever. And so I kind of thought that was interesting when I heard about that because yeah, I think it's a pretty good show overall, and I like the creativity behind it.
Well, like a couple, like one of the new. Uh, here to talk about football, right?
Yeah, there's no football in Bluey,
There,
although they do have a rugby episode.
they have a rugby episode, and they now have a cricket episode
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'll
with
have to check that one out.
with what's it, Ranger.
Gotcha.
No, nobody can strike. None of the parents can strike Ranger out.
Ah, all right.
So
Interesting.
it's one of the new. I think it was like 8 or 10 episodes that they released today.
All right, back to football.
Back to football.
Let's get off the Bluey and let's get on to our recap of the past week. And so, James, the bulk of what I have here is just a recap of the coaching changes. And so last week was the
Yeah,
big
I've
week
lost
for
track
that.
of them. So
Yeah, so we have 8 total teams that had openings. One of them's already been filled, but I'll just go through them here. So we already knew Frank Reich was out of Carolina. Brandon Staley was out with the Chargers.
hmm
McDaniels was out in Vegas. The new ones, Arthur Smith, fired by Atlanta.
I missed
Ron
that.
Rivera, yep, Ron Rivera fired by Washington.
Not a
Pete
surprise.
Carroll, I don't know if he was fired or I think they're saying it was mutual because they're moving him to the front office. But either way, he's no longer the head coach of the Seahawks.
Oh, it wasn't mutual. The
Well,
quote
I know he made a
from
comment about wanting to come back, and then they
the
were like,
quote
we're
from
moving him
Pete
to the front
Carroll
office.
wasn't football people who decided his fate.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then you got Vrabel. He was fired by Tennessee. That was just ridiculous, in my opinion. And then you got Belichick with the Patriots. He was fired as well. That one I also thought was a little bit bullshit. I thought they could have done a better job messaging that. But it is what it is. Belichick, obviously, crazy, crazy, awesome 24-year
Mm.
run in New England. Um, and when it was announced, I was reading an article that I forgot they made the playoffs with Mac Jones in his rookie year.
I
And
forgot about that too.
yeah, and it just made me think, wow, what the hell went wrong with Mac Jones? Because
Well,
the
he had a freaking ridiculous rookie year, so that doesn't surprise me. I forgot they made the playoffs, but like he looked phenomenal in his rookie year, like
but that's
ridiculously
what I
good.
mean. Like, how come he never got back to that or better? Like, he just has only gone the wrong way.
Hmm.
Oh, because I remember last year we thought, okay, year two regression because maybe teams are,
Yeah.
they got all the tape on him now and, it's just harder for him. Some players they excel, some players they get that sophomore slump. And then I thought at least for this year, I was like, okay, he's going to break out of the slump and they'll be back into the playoffs. And no, couldn't be further from the truth. He was so much worse than he was last year. And then that was even worse than his rookie year. It's like, wow, what the hell happened to the guy, man?
I don't fucking know. Like,
Yeah. But so yeah, anyhow, so with the Patriots, Gerard Mayo, their I don't know, he was a linebackers coach. I don't know if he was calling the defense or whatever. You know, the way they always do it with Belichick is kind of convoluted. But he's the head coach for next year now, or well, starting now, obviously, and big shoes to fill. But you know, he was a Patriots player,
mhm.
and they like him. I thought that they would at least do the interview with Vrabel, but that's okay. I don't like the Patriots for Vrabel anyhow. I want to see him go somewhere that they either have a quarterback or even like Washington, where they've got the number two pick and he can get his quarterback. Because like even like Washington has pieces on defense that Vrabel can work with, but clearly his downfall in Tennessee these last couple of years was the quarterback situation.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and you know, I thought like it felt to me like that was going to be the move when Vrabel was let go and everything, but
yeah, and let me ask you this. So not to keep going down the tangents here, but at least this one's football related. Is with the Patriots, because they waited, you know, three whatever days. You know, they had the original meeting on Monday, and the whole thing kind of drug on, you know, into the week. Do you think that Kraft was trying to pull off a coach trade and it just nothing came up, so he ended up just letting him go?
you know,
My gut's telling me that it was there was something going on and it just they didn't have any takers. Or if they had takers, it wasn't you know, maybe Belichick was going to squash it or whatever, but um I don't know, dude. Kraft just seems like that kind of piece of shit to me where he would have tried to get something out of it if he was just going to fire him.
so the thing with firing, and I mentioned this to you, especially when they're under contract, it's
Yeah.
actually it's actually better to fire. Like, so if it's mutual, then you're going to negotiate the the
Yeah,
price. So
settlement.
the team's going to negotiate it down for it to be mutual. And if you fire them when they're under contract, they're still on the hook for that. And I don't know how it works with mutual and the potential to sign with another team.
Yeah, it would depend on the clause, right? So, or the contract, because like some of the players' clauses have that I forget what they call it, but it's like offset language where you know if a
Yeah.
player's released, but then they sign with another team, you know, the original team gets like a reduction because like now the new team's paying them and whatever, and so I don't
Yeah,
know. There could be some of
I
that in the
think for
coach
for
contracts.
coaches, like, it's basically if you're I I honestly think it's if you're fired and you don't you sign immediately with another team or become a coach of another team that following year, that voids the remainder of your contract that the previous team owes you. But it might not be. Like, I don't know. That's legal shit that
Yeah,
who
yeah, we're
knows.
not NFL contract specialists. We're
Yeah,
just Ryan and James. So.
exactly.
All right, so aside from the coaching changes, James, a couple pieces of news. Puka Nakua with the Los Angeles Rams, rookie wide receiver, has set two new records for rookie wide receivers. He finished the season with 1,486 yards, and he finished the season with 105 receptions. Both came in that final game of the season. Um, You know, good for him. I think it was, sort of like the perfect combination of circumstances. I think
Hmm.
he is like one of those rare talents that came out of nowhere and ended up being really good. And then also, I think that early in the season, Cooper Kupp had some injury issues, and it sort of forced Stafford to just fixate on him, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody else was stepping up. And then by the time Cooper Kupp came back, it just made it even easier for Nakua to get those receptions because now the pressure was off as teams were maybe starting to hone in on him a little bit. And no matter what the circumstances were, phenomenal rookie season. And so good for him. But I am still hoping the Lions just totally push their shit in on Sunday night. So,
Yeah, I'm hoping that too. For when I'll save that for when we talk about the game picks because there's some concerning shit coming from Detroit this year in the past game.
sure.
But that I'll talk about that more when we talk about our game picks because
Okay.
I've seeing some shit in my notes that's not very good.
Gotcha. Well, so the last couple things I had, not exactly NFL related, but University of Michigan won the college football playoff championship. Good for them.
Them
Nice
damn
to see.
cheaters.
Damn cheaters, yeah. And hey, who knows? Harbaugh may be going to the NFL now. I
How,
don't know.
how long were they filming Washington sideline during the regular season
Yeah.
to get their
Do
signals?
we? Yeah.
The
Do
thing
we
I
have a
thing I
picture of that dude at the
the
game?
thing I heard the thing I heard about that was this was the most interesting thing since you brought it up. Last year when Michigan played TCU in the college football playoffs,
Yeah.
TCU heard a rumor that Michigan was scouting the play calls and the signals
Okay.
from the sideline. So they still used those signals, but those were dummy signals and used real signals somewhere else. So
Gotcha.
so Michigan would see those signals and line up for the play, and that's why they got their asses kicked last year in the college football playoffs because
Ah.
they were cocky and they didn't adapt to the fact that wait a minute, they're not running the
They're
plays we
yeah.
thought we
These aren't
would with
what
these
they.
signals.
Yeah.
These aren't right.
Yeah. So I don't know, dude. Like there have been coaches that have come out and said basically every college team is doing this. It's just Michigan was stupid enough to get caught.
Yeah, fucking putting a Michigan coach on the sideline of
I
Central
know,
Michigan
man.
with a Central
Yeah.
Michigan hat on, like come on, like somebody's not gonna go through film and like see this guy at other
Pick that
games.
out. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe you're like, oh, well, Central Michigan, like, how much film are you going to get where you could find him on the sideline? Well, hey, in today's day and age,
Yeah.
it's out there. All right, so then other college football news: Nick Saban, six-time national championship winner at Alabama, he has retired. And
Hmm.
I'll be honest, man, I think good for him because
Hmm.
going into that Michigan game, he looked to me a little bit worn out, man. And I know
Yeah.
it's the timing was funny because like Pete Carroll made some comment about how he wasn't worn out and whatever, he had the energy to go again. Dude, when I saw Saban in that Michigan game, the dude just looked freaking burned out to me, man.
Yeah. Well, see, but the retirement is like the perfect Nick Saban retirement. Like it completely flew under the radar that like it was nobody even thought he was about to retire, and then he announced his retirement. It's like it was the perfect Saban retirement. Not about me,
Yeah.
not about me at all. And I thought that was great. Didn't have the farewell tour and the other shit like Coach K did, or fucking look at me. Coach K kind of was like, what is Coach K like 90? It was about time for him to retire.
Yeah, some of these guys, man, yeah, I know what you're saying though. They want as much attention as they can get because it's like their last little minute in the spotlight or whatever. And um, but yeah, no, I like that Saban. It wasn't a huge overblown deal.
Yeah, no, I like that, that's Saban's style. Like, I mean, he's Saban's only 72.
That's
I
that's
thought he
still getting
was.
up there, man.
It's getting up there, but I thought he was older for some reason. Like he looked. he's like the last couple of years, he looked like he aged like 20 years.
I agree that yeah, that's what I was trying to say is that it just looked like all of a sudden it's getting hard on him, you know.
Hmm.
So all right, so James, any surprise games of the last week?
Let me. I don't. I'm not remembering many.
I mean, the only one that I could call out was the Giants getting that win over the Eagles. I thought,
You
man,
could call out.
you
I
know,
think I remember somebody saying that would happen. Is he here?
no, and that's what I'm saying is like for me, it's a surprise because I just with how great the Eagles started the year, I thought, they fell apart in the second half
Hmm.
and they needed a win to sort of give them some momentum going into the playoffs, is what I thought. And, I don't know. I didn't like that they couldn't get it done, but that's the NFL, man, any given Sunday.
It would help if I'm looking at the games for the right week, um, to see if there were any real surprise games. And looking at it, like the how I could say the score was a surprise. I would think it would have been a closer game. Um, how the Chiefs, it's a lot of it's just the score, like the rant. Oh,
Yeah, because week
motherfuckers,
18 is so unpredictable.
motherfucking Rams. That that call did cost the Lions the number one seed.
Yeah, well, yeah, but let's keep in mind that the 49ers played Darnold because they had it locked
Oh
up.
yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm forgetting it. Like I'm looking at it, I was like, oh motherfuckers.
Yeah, no, but I agree, and that's the challenge with week 18, right? Is that some teams have something to play for, some don't, and so some of the games are hard to say they're a surprise because there's like so many unusual circumstances going on in the background.
Probably, and it's not a surprise. Well, the surprise game, like it's not a surprise really the team that won, but how the Buccaneers didn't score a touchdown over on Carolina.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, that's not good.
Like they won 9-0. It was like,
Weak sauce.
yeah, and especially in a game that they needed to make the fucking playoffs to barely show up for that game, and also
Yeah.
the um the other surprise is how much what the fuck's his name, the quarterback for the Chargers, kind of dominated the Chiefs defense a little bit.
Oh,
Sticks,
yeah,
Eric
Easton
Easton
Stick.
Easton Stick, yeah. 258 yards passing and like 77 yards rushing.
Yeah, well, they did give Buffalo a run for their money too, right? So maybe there's a little more to it than, or just teams are overlooking them.
Yeah, I it might be teams are just overlooking looking them, but like I don't know. It just those the stats seem out of line for what
Yeah.
I saw for with the Chargers with Easton Stick at quarterback. Like you remember his first game was it 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago? Like there was like 20 yards offense for the Chargers in the game.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's more par for the course with the backup, right?
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't 20 yards, but it was fucking pathetic. It was I think it was the Raiders game. It was either the Raiders or the Broncos. It might have been the Broncos. Eh, the stats at the end of the day aren't that bad against the Broncos, but still it was a long time before he got any of those stats.
Yeah.
But it was the Broncos game,
Okay.
or was it the Patriots game? No, that
Dude,
Herbert played against the Patriots.
figure it out, man.
It was
Figure
the
it out.
Broncos game. It was the Broncos game. I figured it out.
I'm just picking on you.
I figured it out. It was the Broncos game. So I
Okay.
mean he came around, but still like that just even if it's backups for the Chiefs, way Easton Stick had been playing to fucking put up 80 yards rushing on even on backups is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot for a quarterback that is not known for his wheels.
Yeah.
All right, man. What else you
But
got
that's
on the
about it.
news? You got
On
anything
the
or no?
news, blah blah blah. No, I think that you hit all. I think you hit all that,
All the
all
big stuff.
everything. Yeah, all the big stuff. Nothing really. Like Washington got a new GM, some guy I
Yeah.
never heard of, and yeah, that was about it.
Okay. Well, let's shift gears here and do our regular season picks recap, James.
Oh
And
man.
so I know you're not digging it, but we got to do it. It's part of the
Okay.
show. We make a bet every year. And so I'll just give you the down and the dirty. You
You,
finish the
it's
year.
so bad. It's so bad you didn't even send it to me. That's how bad this is.
Well, it was the last week. I figured, hey, do I need to send it? I don't know. I mean, we
No,
didn't
I know.
uh, we didn't update any power rankings or anything, so it just to
No,
me
I
it
know.
was
I'm just messing
it
with you.
was
I'm
it
just
was
messing
dead in the water. But yeah, no. So yeah, regular season's in the books. I would say that I think for you, you had to start taking some shots at the end of the season,
with you.
but and I think maybe to start the year you stumbled a little bit out of the gate, and then it got a little bit better, and then it kind of fell apart again. For me, I think it was fairly steady almost the whole year. I know last year we had that like first month slump, and then we both got better. This year was a little different, and so you ended up finishing the year with 150 wins on the season, which was good for 55%.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
55.
yeah. And when you're playing from behind, I know you got to take some chances, right? And so it's kind of sometimes it's harder to make up the games. For me, I ended up finishing with 165 wins, which was good for 61%, which also means I'm the big winner of our whiskey bet. If we're, however we're
Yeah.
going to do that, we'll figure that out offline. But um, I guess that's four in a row now for me in the regular
Yeah.
season.
It's
So,
4 in the row for the regular season, and for the playoffs, I'm you got last year, so 2-1.
yeah. So you got to get some redemption, my man.
Yeah, I
Um,
do. I'm throw I told you a little bit before the show. I just threw my model out the window, and I'm I'm going away from my model. Next year, I'm
do what you
just
did
gonna do
before,
it from
man.
the hip, do what I did before, because I mean, shooting from the hip, I was in the 60% and I started the
So, yeah,
model, and
let me give you last year. And so last year was not like a phenomenal year. I think it was the year before we did really good, but last year you were at 157, so seven better, which was good for 58%. I was at 170, so five better, which was good for 63. And same kind of thing, like at the end of the year you were behind, so you had to start throwing
Mhm.
darts, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think it was the year before. I didn't pull that one up, but that I think was the year where we were both like mid 60s. We had a really solid year. So, but I did
Mhm.
find an NFL article, NFL.com article of all of their analysts and what their records were for the year. And so, whoever all these names are, you got Allie, Brooke, Dan, Gennaro, Tom, whatever. These guys finished between 62 and 65%. And so a little better than us. Last year I was like right in that range. The year
Mhm.
before we both probably would have been a little bit better than that. Um, but that's interesting, right? Because these are guys that are getting paid to do this,
Yeah.
and we're just hanging out on our couch. So Um, you know, I'm just trying to give us a little bit of credibility, James. We do know enough about what we're talking about for the average Joe. So,
Yeah, all I know is like my picks started to go downhill as soon as I had children.
yeah, that's, I think, a natural progression, my man.
Yeah, I stopped having the time to really watch football, and this year like it's the first year without Sunday ticket, so like I was watching the Red Zone, so I wasn't able to get really that much, except for when the Lions started being the game on TV out here. Like I wasn't able to really get a sense of much of the flow of the game. I was just seeing bits and
Scores,
pieces.
yeah,
Yeah,
scores, highlights, yeah. Um, yeah, that makes it tough for sure. I know what you mean. I can tell you that it will get better. My kids are still young, but not as young as yours, and it seems like I do get a little bit more time maybe every year to watch some of the games because, it's kind of like as they start to get their own personalities and do their own thing,
hmm,
you get a little bit more free time again to do your thing, right? So, and it doesn't
true.
always work that way because a lot of times weekends family time, um, but yeah, there's hope for you. Don't worry, my man. Hang in there.
Thanks.
All right, so yeah, we got to get a playoff bet going, but let's, I guess, talk about that in a little bit. I don't know why I had in our notes that we do our preseason prediction recap first. So,
We do,
okay.
and
Yeah, do you have yours up? Do you want to
I have
run it
mine.
through? And
I kind of have mine up, and I went through, and I will say, do you want to do it by division? Do you want to do it like what went good, and then what was like way the fuck off?
yeah, let's do it by division, James. And I'm just trying to find my notes here because I know we did like a super early, and then we did the preseason, and we're wanting to look at the preseason because we want to
Hmm.
see like basically our final predictions before the regular season started. So,
Yeah.
um,
So
yeah,
we'll start with the AFC East.
perfect.
So in the AFC East, I had Buffalo at 11-6, right on the money. Then I had Miami at 9-8, a little bit off. The Patriots at 7-10, a little bit off. And this is the one that I'm so fucking proud of because of how much hype was going into the season for the New York Jets. I had them going 7-10 this year,
Ninja.
right on the fucking money.
Did you predict the injury too?
I did not predict the injury. I
No.
just had, I just had like like one of those when like everybody's hyped up about a team and they
Yeah,
always like
flop.
Detroit last year. Everyone was hyped up going into the season about them, and
Oh,
then they
not me,
start
my man.
they started
But yeah,
started the season off at 1-6. So I just had that sense, and like I went back to like my kind of looking at my game picks.
yeah,
It's way the fuck off. Like I had them starting 0-4, so I just thought their schedule was tough, and I thought Rogers was going to have some time or need some time to acclimate.
yeah,
Because I mean, after that, I had them after starting 0-4. I mean, obviously, I had them winning their 7 games after that, so it obviously righted a little bit on them. And then, like most of the games I had them winning were at the end of the season.
oh yeah. Well, yeah, I'll give you mine real quick. So I had Buffalo.
Speaking of the Jets, I want to say
Oh,
something
yeah,
about the
yeah, yeah.
Jets.
Go ahead. Yeah.
That it just occurred to me. Nathaniel Hackett basically admitted he did not know how to use Brees Hall. Did you hear his quote?
No.
His quote was more or less something along the lines of "I didn't know he could catch the ball like that." How the fuck do you have a player on your
Yeah.
team
Are
at
you?
running back that
Yeah.
you don't know could catch the ball?
Are
Haven't
you
you?
having practice?
Are you at practice? Are you paying
Yeah.
attention? Is your
Yeah.
head is your head out of your ass? The only reason he has a job is because of fucking Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fucking Brees Hall is a phenomenal, rare, young
Yeah.
rookie talent. Like you should be giving him the ball every which way you can, man. he's not like a Nick Chubb, and even
Yeah,
Nick Chubb can catch the ball. You just don't want to rely on it.
yeah. I'll while you go through yours, I'll find the exact quote, but it was bad.
Sure.
Like seriously, like did he just say that?
Yeah. So for me, I had Buffalo on top at 13-4, which a little bit steep for how they finished. I had them getting the number 2 seed, which is that's what they ended up getting, right?
Yeah.
So I got that right, I guess. But I had the Jets at 12-5. I thought the Rodgers thing was going to work out. Him getting hurt, obviously, if I could have gone back and like rewrote, I would have taken some games off because I thought that, the defense, we all knew the defense was really good. But it was all going to be dependent on that offense getting the Rodgers boost. And even then, with the way their offensive line played this year, maybe it would have been tough for Rodgers still. I don't know. It's hard to say. But then third, I had Miami at 9-8, which you and I were in alignment there on them. And then at fourth, I had the Patriots at 8-9, and so that one was pretty far off. But we kind of talked about it early. Mac Jones really just sunk that team. I mean, his pocket presence was so it just wasn't there. He was oblivious. And oh my gosh. I just, so many of the games I watched for New England, it was maddening watching Mac Jones. Like, I just am surprised that
Mhm.
Belichick didn't switch to Bailey Zappi in like week 4. Okay. So, but whatever. It is what it is now. It's all water under the bridge, man.
So here's the quote, and this article um says it's yes, the Jets' own offensive coordinator didn't fully understand how good, arguably, his best player was until late in the season. And his quote was, "I don't think I was ready for Brees," and then parentheses, Brees Hall to be as productive as he was in the pass game. It's like, what the fuck did you think he was going to be? A lump of fucking coal?
Yeah. Yeah. That's shame on him, dude. Shame on him.
Yeah, like how do you not know the talent you have on your team? Yeah, like if
Yeah.
somebody's a surprise, like this article later goes on to say it was when asked blah 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 blah. New York Jets fans know just blah blah blah. Anyone who watched Hall at Iowa State and with the Jets as a rookie bore witness to one of the most talented running backs in the country. His talent wasn't exactly a well-kept secret.
Yeah, Hackett
Well,
needs to keep his
well,
mouth shut.
unless you're Nathaniel Hackett, that is.
He's not doing himself any favors when he opens
No,
his mouth.
no, not one single favor. But it's like everybody knew how fucking good Brees Hall was,
Yeah,
and that you could catch the ball. Like he had a phenomenal year last year, and then what did
yep.
you expect? That was just like, oh, a fluke.
Yeah, I mean, I think the impressive part was how well he came back from the knee injury,
Hmm.
right? I mean, that
Yeah,
was a really
exactly.
quick recovery, and then for him to be as effective as he was this year, you know, I would have expected some kind of decline, at least
Hmm.
for a year, while he kind of like adjusted to his body getting fully back again. But no, man, he kicks ass, man.
Yeah, so I don't know what the fuck Nathaniel Hackett was watching when it
Yeah.
came to Brees Hall. Like, did you not see how good he was last year, or did you have your head up your ass? I probably had his head up his ass. But
Oh yeah.
do you want to go NFC or do you want to go down the AFC?
Let's do all the AFCs and then
All
we'll
right.
do the NFCs.
So then we'll go to the AFC North.
Yes.
I did not get a single pick right. Not a single pick. I didn't get a single record right. I was close on a couple of them, but way off. I had Cincinnati at 14-3. Granted, they started off slow, and then Burrow's injury kind of derailed them. Then I had Baltimore at 10-7. Like nobody really expected Baltimore to win 13 games this year and be as fucking good as they are. So I can't really complain much about that.
Yeah.
Then I had Cleveland and Pittsburgh both at 9-8. With Cleveland and Pittsburgh, with Pittsburgh in particular, I knew that they would find a way to be above 500, and I was close. Like looking at the team in the offseason, I think you had them with 5 wins, if I remember correctly. And
not you're saying Cleveland or Pittsburgh? Sorry.
Pittsburgh.
No, I had Pittsburgh at 11 in my super early, and then I bumped them to 12 in my preseason. Oh, you had them
Oh,
at 5 and 12 in your super early.
okay. Is that what it was? I knew I was
Yeah.
remembering something like that. Yeah. So like Pittsburgh, I couldn't
Yeah,
pick
we
them
yeah,
to
we
go
thought they were
below
stepping
500.
back. Yeah.
I thought they were stepping back. You obviously didn't. You had them at like 15 wins. Like, so,
Yeah.
but I couldn't pick them to be sub 500. I didn't at all have them close to the, well, I had them close, but actually, no, I didn't have them close to the playoffs because,
Yeah, I had this division all messed up too.
yeah, but
So,
I mean, a lot of this division came down to Baltimore surprising and Cincinnati taking a
Burrow
step
getting
back,
hurt.
especially with the Burrow injury.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah,
look at
so
see if I
sorry, go
can
ahead.
get my super early.
Yeah, so I got your super early.
I had Cleveland right on.
Yeah, you did. You had it at 11 and 6 in your super early. Yeah. Yeah, so
That's a
for me,
surprise.
James, I had Cincinnati and Baltimore tied at 13 and 4 with Cincinnati getting the tiebreaker on Baltimore. And so I got that wrong obviously, but it was nice that Baltimore did finish 13 and 4. At least I got that right. I had Pittsburgh at 12 and 5, which was a little steep, but they did find a way to get to 10 wins, which I was
Mhm.
happy about. And then I had Cleveland at 10 and 7, and so that was pretty close too. But the big difference is that I had 3 teams in this division making the playoffs. I thought this was the powerhouse division, and yeah, the Burrow injury set
But
that
3 teams
back.
still did make the playoffs.
Uh, no, thank you. No, I appreciate that. I had obviously the wrong 3,
Yeah.
uh, but it's the Burrow injury was a factor with where I was off, and the Kenny Pickett thing was a factor with where I was off. You know, it's nice that Pittsburgh still got to 10 wins,
Hmm.
but Pickett really did them no favors, man.
Yeah,
Like zero.
I agree. I think the Pickens combination is going to be good if Pickett can mature a little bit is going to be something dynamic in the league in a couple years, or in a year or two. But I think Pickett needs to mature a little bit and
Yeah.
hone his craft.
Yeah, Pickett, he looked amazing in the preseason, right? And there was a ton of hype for Pittsburgh. And then week 1 came around, and it was a totally different kind of passer. He was dinking and dunking. He wasn't dropping shit deep at all.
Hmm.
And he was like just freaking frazzled in the pocket. Um, I do kind of worry what his ceiling is now, to
Yeah,
be
I do
honest.
too.
So. But all right, that's good with me, man. You know, you want to go to the AFC South now?
Yeah, I had this as the worst division in all of football. I was close. I had the right geographic location. Um, I'm trying to do the math. I had the right geographic area that it covered, but the wrong conference. So I didn't have a team over 500 in this division. I
Oh,
had Jacksonville winning it at 8-9. I was only a game off. I had Tennessee at 6-11. I got that one right on. I didn't get that Tennessee would be last in the division right on because I had Houston at 5-12 and Indianapolis at 3-14. For Houston and Indianapolis, Houston I thought they would take a step forward. I didn't think they would take as much of a step forward as they did.
Yeah.
This is 5-12 is off of me being super fucking pumped about their draft and what D'Amico Ryans is doing there. And I'm sorry, no. This is me coming down from that hype because my super early, I had them winning 7 games. And that was, I think our super early was like right after the draft.
Yeah.
And I had them winning 7 games, and I had Indy right around the same. I had Jacksonville at 9-8, which if I would have stayed with that, I would have been fine there. The South, like Jacksonville was a little bit of a surprise. The Lawrence injury, Jacksonville not winning the division, that is, was a little bit of a surprise. The Lawrence injury kind of derailed them a little bit. They didn't look like the same team. Houston took a huge step forward. It looks like with CJ Stroud, they knocked the fucking ball out of the park. Like,
fuck yeah.
And I wasn't sure. And everything going into the draft, I remember talking about it, was whether or not Houston was going to take him.
Yep. Yeah, there was the drama about his agent. And, and honestly, some of that turned me off with Stroud because I was like, wait a minute, what the hell is all this drama about?
Exactly.
Anytime you get player drama like that, I start to disregard the guy because I'm like, no, you got to earn it first before all this bullshit comes into play. But that's all it turned out to be, was just a bunch of bullshit. He's freaking phenomenal, man.
Yeah, and then Indy, like my prediction was with Richardson not playing the year. I didn't think Minshew could do that much, as much as he did, because when I did
you thought Richardson was going to ride the pine for a bit.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't.
And he
So
did, but
I mean,
for injury.
he did for injury, and they did better with Minshew than I thought they would.
Oh yeah, dude, my AFC South had to be the ugliest of my predictions, and so I had Jacksonville winning it at 9-8. They
You got
obviously
the
did
record
not.
right, but you got the
Uh,
record right.
well, that's comforting that I got the record right, but um, I think the one thing overlooked with Jacksonville is that their offensive line was really, really shitty this year. And part of
Mhm.
it was that they let their right tackle go in free agency last year, and then their left tackle, I think he had a suspension and then an injury this year,
Yeah,
and they had a third one of those starters get hurt this year. I forget who it was, an interior guy, and so like that's one of those things that flies under the radar when you have an offensive line have issues like that.
yeah.
And they did not have anywhere near the depth to recover from it. Their defense, I know their coordinator got fired, but I would put a lot of their problems on that offensive line, to be honest. And, Lawrence getting hurt, that set him back too, for sure. But part of the reason he was getting hurt is because all the pressure he was facing. And so, um, but yeah, so then I had Tennessee at 9-8. I just thought that Vrabel would find a way, as he always does, and it finally, caught up with him. They've just deprived him of having any talent on that
Yeah.
roster other than Derrick Henry, and so it makes me so upset. And then I had Houston at 4-13. So they finished the year before at 3-13-1, but we kind of thought, like, what was it? That last game was sort of like an unexpected win or whatever. And so I thought I was kind of like, okay, bumping them up a couple games, but trying to manage expectations with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback, right? And they
Mhm.
just fucking blew the doors off of it. I'm super pumped for Houston.
So I don't
And then,
remember the last win for Houston being
oh, I'm thinking the
a
year
surprise.
before, right?
Yeah,
Was it
they
was it Lovie Smith the year before? Because
wasn't it
remember,
Levis?
he won the last one to knock him out of getting the number one pick or whatever.
No, that was last year. I just don't remember it being a surprise.
Well, I think the surprise was they only had 2 wins, right? And so they thought, well, hey, you might as well tank it and get the number 1 pick. Lovey
Yeah.
Smith getting fired anyhow. And then he ended up winning it to give him the FU on the way out, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's what it was the whole
yeah,
FU on the way out.
yeah.
Definitely the previous year, the last one wasn't a surprise. Like that was
Okay. That was the Cully era. See, I don't know why I thought
yes.
Cully was. I mixed him up when who was first, but
Yeah,
uh,
last year was Lovey Smith. The year before was Cully.
okay.
So yeah, because they lost their last 2 games with Cully. They beat the Chargers and then lost and lost.
Gotcha. All right, so yeah, then lastly, I had the Colts at 1-16, and they like very clearly blew my model out of the water. Um, and just to look at it, they had the worst. Nope, I'm sorry, they had the second worst uh, team rating in my model. The only other team that was worse was Arizona, and Arizona, in my opinion, had a little softer of a schedule, and so Indy had the worst record in this division for me. But I got a lot of respect for that young head coach, man, and I'm excited to see what Richardson does when he's healthy because he had
Mhm.
some of that electric type ability, and so they're going to be a team to watch out for in a major way next year.
All right, so moving on to the playoff picks because I don't want to talk about the rest of the divisions. Those are just shit shows for me. No, I'm just kidding. Um, Next up, we're on the AFC West. Now, I really fucked this division up.
Mm.
Really, really fucked this division up. Bad. I mean, I had the Chargers winning it at 13-4. I, I don't know what the fuck I was smoking.
Because we always think the Chargers are going to light it up. They've got so much
Mm-hmm.
talent, and they always fucking suck.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then I had actually had them tied with the Chiefs, both at 13-4. Then I had Vegas at 12-5 and Denver at 3-14. I came close with the Chiefs. Um, Outside of that,
Yeah, and I know you had some, you were feeling good about the Raiders, and I just, I kind of told you my opinion was fuck Josh McDaniels. I couldn't get behind
what I
him.
felt good about the Raiders and what I thought they were going to do was I thought, and I talked about this. I thought Aiden O'Connell was going to become the starter sooner,
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that.
which
That's right. Yeah,
which would have given him a little bit more time to kind of settle into the role. Because I had them losing. I had all their losses in like the first half of the season.
okay. Yeah, and they did finish the year before at 6-11, so
Mhm.
you would have thought there would have been some progression, right? I mean,
Yeah,
going
and then
6-12 is a big bump, but it's all right. You liked him.
and then Denver, like the the 3-14, I downgraded them from 5-12 from my super early.
Yeah. And man, they looked like they were going to do that, right? The way they
Yeah,
started, it was like, oh my God, man.
exactly. They looked like they were going to do that at the beginning, and then it just like it clicked. And
Yeah,
hey,
they
good
had
for
kind
them.
of like a mid-season rally, and it
Hmm.
fell apart at the end again, right? But
Yeah. So I mean, uh, I got nothing right in this division. I didn't realize how anemic um the Chiefs were going to look.
oh, I know, man. I know.
But with the Chiefs record, the thing I did get right, and I put in this 13-4, one of those losses was to the Lions. I will say that.
Nice, nice. You got that right. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. I picked the Chiefs, and I was like, damn it, man. uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
for
like
me,
in my prediction, it was my prediction. I went game by game, and I had the Lions winning that game. But hey,
yeah,
I'll
it
let
was a
you go.
nice
I'm
pick,
sorry.
man. No, you're good, man. I was just taking off my little coat thing or whatever the hell you call it. But yeah, this one, man, I was way off on Kansas City, obviously. Them having been 14-3 the previous season, winning the Super Bowl, I thought, oh my God, man, you just cannot stop this combination with Andy Reid and Patrick
Hmm.
Mahomes. I had them going 16-1, thinking it would only get better for them. Was I wrong? The story of the season for them was these first and second year wideouts dropping the most passes in the league, having the most penalties, like by far for a wide receiver group in the league. Just struggled, man, and it drug them down big time. I think later on in the year, you started to see some cracks in the offensive line, but you know, I don't even know why that was, to be honest, because I don't remember them having major injuries. It was
Yeah, I
almost like
don't.
maybe the team was just starting to give in a little bit. Um, so I kind of was off on them, you know. And then I had the Chargers at 10-7. You know, obviously I was off on them. You know, I'm glad Staley got fired because there's just too much talent on that team to not be a double-digit winner. And so maybe the
Mhm.
next guy will get it right, man. Then at third, I had Denver at 7-10, and lastly, I had the Raiders at 7-10. And so I was kind of close on those guys. They both won eight. Um, you know, I think like with the Raiders, I was not expecting Josh Jacobs to repeat the 2,000-yard rushing deal, right?
Mhm.
Uh, but in fact, I want to pull his stats on this year because
Did he play this year?
it's a very good question, isn't it? Um, he
Did he have 600 yards?
He did, in fact, play, and I remember it was like a really slow start for him. He ended up picking up a couple 100-yard
Oh,
games towards the end of the year.
He had 800 yards rushing.
Yeah,
Woohoo!
yeah. But that to me was a big part of the storyline, right? Was that shit? I just knocked out one of my, uh, was that they did not utilize him the same way they did the year before, and that affected them. And I think even if they did utilize him the way before, he would have come down, but he should have still been a 1,000-plus-yard runner. So that to me, there was some coaching. You know, the quarterback thing was obviously an issue. Devontae Adams was upset midseason. You know, just a lot of things went wrong. Antonio Pierce came in, fired up that defense. I think I
Hmm.
saw something about they had one of the top scoring defenses from the time he took over to the end of the season. And so he dialed it in on that side of the ball, which we
Yeah.
knew they had talent on defense, a lot of journeyman kind of guys, but they got Max Crosby obviously, um, but yeah, I had no faith in McDaniels, and I'm glad he got fired just because I think he's a douchebag, whatever. But um, maybe he'll reunite with Belichick. They'll go and swoop into Kansas City, or not Kansas City, Los Angeles, Kansas City. Oh my God, that'd be crazy. They'll swoop into the Los Angeles Chargers and make Herbert the next Tom Brady, and fucking who knows. So I would love it if they both went to Buffalo, dude. It just like, oh my gosh. But yeah, that's too much of a tangent. All right, on to the NFC. We're back.
All right. So on to the NFC. The NFC East, I had some right on and some not like right on, but I had some close and then a couple teams that I was a little bit off on. I had Philadelphia at 14-3. It looked like it was going to happen, and then they lost what, four of their last five or
Yeah, they
some
just
shit like
fell
that.
out. Yeah.
I think it was 4 or 5. Like after that, because they lost to Dallas, Seattle, beat the Giants, lost to Arizona, and then lost to the Giants. it just kind of the bottom fell out on them, and they ended up going 12-6. They were right on my projections before that. So, hey. Then I had Dallas at 12-5. Had the record right, didn't have them winning the division. Just with Dallas, I kind of had them at 12-5 because I thought their schedule was a little bit easier this year. Giants I had at 10-7. Way the fuck off. I drank the Kool-Aid. I liked what I saw Dayball was doing there and thought
Yeah.
it would continue. I didn't know that fucking Daniel Jones would turn back into a pumpkin that quickly. As week one when they got smoked by like 72 points to Dallas. And then I had Washington at 3-14. So I was kind of right there.
Yeah.
Like the one, I don't know. I haven't looked at Washington to see where like the one game difference was, but I think they had like a surprise win towards the end of the season.
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, you were, what they finished, 4 wins, you had three,
Yeah,
right there.
yeah,
Um,
it's I didn't like what I saw. Like I liked what I saw coming in Washington. I thought Howell was better than he turned out to be, but I just I've been out on Rivera as a coach for a while.
yeah, yeah, me too, man. Yeah, yeah, and I feel bad. I hope Bieniemy finds a way to, you
Yeah.
know, get a chance somewhere because I thought he was actually doing well with the offense, especially
Hmm.
as the year went on. I mean, there was a point in time where Howell was leading the league in passing yards.
Hmm.
Imagine what Bieniemy could do if he had like a
A real
higher,
quarterback.
yeah, like a higher pedigree quarterback. I mean, I think he could be the real deal as a play caller. But um, yeah, so for me, James, I had Philly at 14-3 also off there, obviously. I think the big story for them is that the coordinator changes on offense and defense really ended up being a factor. And
Hmm.
I know, like offensively, you say, okay, well, what's his face is calling the plays anyhow, or should be, or whatever. So it shouldn't have been that big of a drop off on offense. On defense, it was very clearly a factor because they kept fucking changing who their defensive coordinator was later on in the season. And so um, I didn't think it'd be that big of a drop off. I thought there was enough talent there that they could have found some consistency.
Hmm.
I was, 3 games off on them. Dallas I had at 12-5, so that was nice. Then I had the Giants at 7-10 and Washington at 5-12. And so for both those guys, I was within a game. I didn't have the same kind of faith in the Giants.
Hmm.
With them the year before being 9-7-1, I thought they were ahead of schedule and they could have some kind of like reversion to the mean. Um, and then some of it ultimately boiled down to the model. I just couldn't find a way to juice up their ratings to
Yeah.
get them, to 9 or 10 wins. And so I defaulted to the model. Washington is a team that before last year I was higher on, and they burned me bad. And then going into last year with Sam Howell, I just was like, man, until I see it, I just can't believe it, right? And so, and same thing, like you talked about Rivera. I like him as a person, and I think he knows the game incredibly well. I just don't think he's really that great of a head coach, and
Uh-huh.
so that's I think honestly he's probably done as a head coach now, having it
Probably.
not worked out in Carolina and now not worked out in Washington, and that's okay. And I don't know that he's the kind of guy that'll like go back to being a coordinator, but time will tell, right? So.
Yeah, sometimes you get desperate for money or you just love the game that much that you want to be involved in it and you take
Yeah.
like I didn't think Jack Del Rio would go back to being a coordinator and he did for a
That's
while.
true, right? Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that with him. With Rivera, I think that because of the way he was sort of like the voice of reason with Snyder's departure and some
Hmm.
of the allegations with the team, and then him also being what is he, like a Native American descent or whatever. I could see
I
him
thought he was
being,
Hispanic.
or okay, maybe that's what it is. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know where I'm at with that, but where I'm going with it is that I think that he can always have a place in the NFL to be a positive voice for different kinds of initiatives that the league needs to have. And so, whether he's a coach or not, I think Rivera is one of those kind of like upstanding NFL representatives, if you will.
Yeah. So he's Puerto Rican.
Thank you. I don't know why I was thinking Native American. Oh, shame on me.
Puerto
Well, it's
Rican.
the Washington Redskins, right? So I
Yeah.
don't, so I don't know.
So so his
Something
his
there.
dad was his dad was Puerto Rican. His mom was Mexican and Filipino.
Okay. Yeah. See, the Mexican thing, I maybe would have been a little closer on, but yeah. Either way, that's I think that he could be a voice for the NFL with a lot
Hmm.
of those types of initiatives. So
Yeah, I'll give you
uh,
that. Do you want to do the North or save the North for last?
let's save the North for last.
Okay. On to the NFC South. That's another division where I was way the fuck off on. Wait, oh God. I was way too fucking high on Atlanta. I had them at 13-4.
Yeah, shit, I don't even remember you being that high on Atlanta, man. What the hell was going on there?
I don't I just
You
I don't
thought
know.
Ritter was the real deal?
No, I think it
Oh,
was a
Bijan
lot of
Robinson
Bijan
and,
Robinson and a lot of their schedule. Like their four losses I had to Detroit, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Carolina. Like I thought they had a really easy schedule. I thought I mean they played Indy, they played the division that I thought was the worst in the league. And they played the North, which I was down on every team
yeah,
in the NFC North besides the Lions. And they played in a division that I thought was soft. Like and all that combined for like me having more wins. I was really down. I'll get to it in a second. I was really high on New Orleans coming in this year too. I had New Orleans at 10-7. I guess I was only a game off with that, but I mean, I guess that one was only a game off. But it's just with New Orleans, like I don't know what I was thinking with New Orleans because I don't didn't think Derek Carr was the answer when they signed him, and I don't like Dennis Allen as a coach. So I don't know what I think
yeah. I
a
mean, you
lot
weren't
of
that far off though.
what I had with the South was I was down like Carolina. I had Carolina at 7-10. Um, and that's again
Yeah,
that's a product of their schedule they had. And
yeah,
how down I was on Tampa Bay because I hate Baker Mayfield, and I had Tampa Bay at 3-14, way the
yeah.
fuck off. So I mean, I think that's why like it had being so down on Tampa Bay and so down on a lot of the teams on the schedule for the NFC South kind of boosted Carolina, New Orleans, and Atlanta up. And I really like Bijan Robinson as a player. I thought he was the absolute perfect draft pick for Atlanta. I thought they would be able to use him right. I thought Kyle Pitts was going to start to
Yeah.
come into his own, and I didn't necessarily think Ritter was the answer, but I thought Ritter was going to be better than he was.
Yep.
So it just kind of all of that threw me off.
I got you. I got you. Well, yeah. All right. So on my end here, I had the Saints at 9-8. That was nice to get that one right. I had Tampa Bay. I'm sorry. Next up, I had Atlanta at 8-9, and so I was a game off on them, but I had them second. At third, I had Tampa Bay at 6-11. So that's the one that I was the farthest off on,
Hmm.
at least at the top. And then I had Carolina at 5-12. And looking at them, it's kind of tough with Carolina, right? Because they were 7-10 the year before, and going to a new coach and a rookie quarterback, you could have expected, that they would come back a little bit, but to come all the way back to 2 wins was unexpected in my opinion,
Yeah.
especially knowing how good their defense was. But Bryce Young really, really freaking struggled, man.
Mhm.
Um, he's got to have a big step up next year.
Finally, at the end of the season, you saw some promise with him, though.
Yeah,
I will say that. Like it looked like, and unfortunately, it looked like a couple weeks after they fired Frank Reich, that he showed a little bit of promise here and there,
yep,
and he showed improvement. Like there was a game, I think it was like week 15, where we're like, this is what we thought they would be getting out of Bryce Young.
yeah, like 10 weeks earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Uh,
So,
yeah, and then with New Orleans, I just don't see it in Dennis Allen, man. Whether you like Derek Carr or not, I don't think Derek Carr is going to be the kind of guy that can put the team on his back. But I
mhm.
think in the right environment, he can be suitable as a starter. Um, I think there's way too much talent on that team for them to only be 9-8, which I think is a Dennis Allen problem.
Mhm.
And I think that defensively, it's going to get harder because they got a lot of guys getting older. We know that they've had salary cap issues, but they've always found a way to work around it. Atlanta, I mean, hey, it's going to be a whole new deal next year. I do worry in Atlanta that maybe Kyle Pitts, uh, maybe he's not going to get there. And I don't know that it's his fault. I think that he's, a couple years in now without having any kind of consistency at quarterback that has stunted his development. And sometimes when a player doesn't, it's like when you don't feed that plant, it can never grow, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like, I think that he's that poor little plant that's just not getting any sunlight, James. I just feel so bad for him. Uh, and then Tampa Bay, you know, 8-9 the year before. I had him at 6-11 because I wasn't sure about Baker. And you might remember uh, my model for Tampa Bay was like the Wild West. I had him as
Mhm.
low as 6-11, and I had him as high as fucking 12 wins. And I just couldn't figure out what to do. So I put him at the low of the model, and I wanted to see Baker prove it. I thought he did pretty well. Their offensive line looked night and day from the year before, but you know, this is another one of these ones where I love Todd Bowles as a defensive coordinator. I just do not think
Mhm.
he is going to be that successful as a head coach. I hope he gets there. I really do. But it's a very talented team. Man, I don't know. He's something about him just doesn't click right with me. So,
Yeah, no, I know. I hear you, but I don't believe in Baker. I don't believe in Baker, and I don't believe in Baker, and that shows
yeah,
up in a lot of my picks, or my pick this weekend too, which we'll get to.
sure. All right, let's go
All
to the
right,
West.
uh, NFC West. All right, so I had almost had the order right, almost. I had San Francisco at 15-2. Um, I was really high on San Francisco. I thought Purdy, I didn't predict as much of a slump. Like I figured there'd be like a little bit here and there, like a couple weeks where he struggled this season. I didn't think they would lose 5 games. But I mean they're really fucking good. I
Yeah,
didn't think they'd lose to Baltimore. That was one of the games that Baltimore got on me was that, and there were a couple other games where I didn't think they would lose, including the last game of the season. Actually, I think I had them losing the last game of the season. Now that I think about it, let's see, San Francisco, I had them losing to Philadelphia and to yep, I did have them losing the last game of the season because it was basically wrapped up because they were they would have been 15-1 going into the last game of the season and basically had it on Philadelphia. whatever. Seattle, I had them next at 9-8. I was right on with their record.
Nice.
I didn't see much of a drop off. I didn't see them moving forward. I think they got about what they can out of this roster, and I don't think there's much there, which is why I think it's bullshit that they got rid of Carroll. Next, I had the Rams. The Rams I had at 4-13. This was because I didn't trust that Stafford could stay healthy. We've talked about it for 2 years now. With Stafford healthy, the team is a different team.
Yep. And
I didn't trust that Stafford would stay healthy over what I saw the previous year, over what I've known in Detroit, where he'll go through a stretch of a couple years in a row where he'll have injuries, then he'll have a couple years healthy. And I didn't think
and that offensive line looked like garbage the year before.
Exactly.
And it didn't look like they were making any notable improvements, right? And so it just looked like it was going to spell certain doom for Stafford.
Exactly. And then the team I was too down on, but I was really down on this year was Arizona. I had Arizona going 2-15. So they got 2 more wins than I expected.
That's not that far off, man.
It's not that far off, especially where the wins they got that I didn't expect. First win they got that I didn't expect was the win over Dallas, and then I didn't expect them to beat Philadelphia. Those right there are the 2 wins. If it weren't for those 2 games, I would have predicted in my way too early. I would have predicted every single game going into the season correctly for Arizona, which is where I had them at 2-15.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it was hard to tell with Arizona, right? Because we didn't know what was going to go on with Kyler Murray. He had that injury situation. People were saying he wasn't going to play until at least November. And then if the team was out of it, they might just not even play him at all. And it was just like, who the heck knows, man? But yeah, you and I were fairly close on our predictions here. You did better, of course, with the Seahawks, but I had San Francisco also at 15-2. Then I had Seattle at 6-11. The Rams also with you at 4-13, and the Cardinals also with you at 2-15. And so Seattle was, well, here, I guess I'll start with the 49ers. Just immensely talented, right? And so, the model freaking loves the 49ers. And why shouldn't it? It's just like, in a lot of ways, it's like Kansas City. It's hard. It's hard to like drop players' ratings down, right? Like once they get to that level, unless you see some kind of noticeable decline, it's hard to like drive them down. And so, 15-2 is hard to predict, but it's also hard to find losses when the roster's that stacked. Seattle, for me, that was a tough one because they finished 9-8 the year before, and I thought that was another one where they were like ahead of schedule, and Geno Smith did like exceptionally well. I expected some regression with Geno. He did regress, maybe not as much as I expected. And then other parts of the team sort of like picked it up as the year went on. And so, that's for sure where I was off with those guys. I also, I'll tell you this, man, even though I had them at 6-11, I was expecting to see more Zach Charbonnet than what we got this year. I thought him and Kenneth Walker would have like really been carrying that offense. And it didn't work out that way at all, man. But that's okay. Like there's always little twists and turns with these teams.
Yeah, exactly. All right. NFC North time.
Let's do it.
They didn't get there the way I thought they would get there, but I had the Lions going 12-5.
Fuck yeah, man.
Right on the money. Then I had Minnesota going 8-9. I was close there. I'm sorry. No, then I had Chicago going 9-8. I was close there, 2 games off. My original prediction for the NFC North was better, but it was 2 games the other way for Chicago because I had them my way too early. I had Chicago at 5-12, so I went 2 games one way, and I just the team that really fucked me up was Green Bay. I was only a
Yeah.
game off on Minnesota. I had them at 8-9, and I was really down on Green Bay coming into this year. Really down on them. I didn't think Jordan Love was a real quarterback. He's kind of dispelled that rumors. He's not as good as some people are saying he could be, but he's not as bad as I thought he was. And I had Green Bay going 1-16, and Green Bay going 1-16 kind of that's the one that threw off a lot of my records.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, so for me, I had Detroit at 10-7. It was nice that we both had Detroit winning the North, and
Mm-hmm.
you obviously were all over it. Um, I still have some hesitancy with their depth
Mm-hmm.
and especially with the talent on the defensive side of the ball. But happy as hell that they won the North and they got that home playoff game. Um,
Fuck yeah.
yeah, yeah. Then at second, I had Chicago 7-10, and those guys finished 7-10, but at the bottom of the division. Third, I had Minnesota 6-11. Fourth, I had Green Bay at 4-13, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm with you on Green Bay, where I wasn't sure what we were going to get with Jordan Love. They were 8-9 the year before, looked like they were going to fall further down.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Love ended up being better than advertised, and I think LaFleur coached his ass off. The defense played pretty well, and Aaron Jones gave them a big boost in the second part of the season. All those things look good. Here's the thing. If you look at the first half of the season, Jordan Love was crazy, crazy streaky, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think he got a little more consistency as the season went on. But yeah, what are we going to get out of him next year? I don't know. I think he'll be maybe an average or somewhere around there kind of starter. I don't know I can put him like higher up than that until we see him get there just because the few years before, coming off the bench behind Rodgers, and then the rumors we heard about him in practice and preseasons and things like that, it was just so bad. And so it was a pleasant surprise this year, but maybe they sandbagged him a lot and teams just weren't expecting it. I don't know. It's hard to say. And then Minnesota, having finished 13-4 the year before, uh, I thought, they had, what was it, 11 one-score wins or whatever. I mean, it was
Mm-hmm.
nuts. I thought for sure they were going to come back to earth, um, you know, and so I had them at 6-11. But the thing is, I think if Cousins stayed healthy, they would have crushed my prediction here because I mean they ended up finishing 7-10. I had them at 6, but Cousins was freaking hot to start the year, and the
Mm-hmm.
defense was a little shaky. The defense ended up tightening up big time, but Cousins tore the Achilles, and they were like in quarterback freaking purgatory all season because of it, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of the long and short of the North, my man.
Sounds sounds good. Any last thoughts before we move on to our playoff predictor slash bet? I think we kind of do the same thing as. Well, go ahead. Any last thoughts on the records? All
No.
right. So for our bet for the playoffs, I think we do the same thing as last year. Bottled whiskey, same thing.
Yeah, and I'll do this. I think last year I offered that if I won the playoff, I'd cut it in half or whatever, so that you're not out another 100 or whatever. And so I would do a similar kind of thing for that. So, you
Okay.
know, we'll
And
call it the
I'm
mercy rule. But no, I mean, you're looking for redemption, and so I'm
yeah,
just
and
putting it out there.
I I I I threw my model out the window, got rid of it. My
Yeah.
model sucks. That showed from the regular season. Anyways, So we have two factors in our playoff predictor. We have a confidence interval
Okay.
and the prediction. So 6, you rank it from 1 to 6. The most confident you're in, you assign a 6-point confidence level to it. Least confident pick you have, you assign a 1 point confidence level to it. And then this following week, it's the lowest is 3, and then the following week it's whatever 5, and then just 6 for you get the Super Bowl
All the
right, you get
marbles.
6 points. The first game we have is Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans. When I modeled this out, I still did my model after I did my picks just to see what just curious how close my model was to what I'm seeing. And my model had Cleveland winning this game 27-21. A couple factors in this game.
27-21. Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to know because I was just thinking about how it compared to my spread. So that's good, man. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then so when you look at this game, CJ Stroud is the concerning factor is CJ Stroud plays better against zone than he does against man coverage. And Cleveland runs out of like the 10th highest man at the 10th highest rate in the league at 47% of the time. Well, and they're really good at it too. I just with this factor, when I looked at the game, where I don't trust it, where I don't trust Cleveland is I don't trust Flacco.
Okay.
I Flacco's been outplaying what he has been for like himself. He's been outplaying himself and looking like he back when he won the Super Bowl, which I'm not saying. I think if Flacco continues that, I think Cleveland has a shot at winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I
is it
just don't think
sustainable?
I just don't think it's sustainable. I think Flacco is inevitably going to regress. And from my notes say that this is the first playoff matchup since the merger featuring a team that committed the league's most turnovers against the team that committed the league's fewest turnovers.
Oh, interesting.
Cleveland turned the ball over a league high 37 times this season.
Gotcha.
Houston turned the ball over a league low 14 times this season. Well, I mean that makes sense because like what was it like 7 weeks before Stroud threw an interception?
Yeah, he was super efficient, man.
Yeah.
Like just
So
so rare for a rookie quarterback. Holy cow.
so they played in earlier in the season. I didn't note the week.
Yeah,
Um,
with Case Keenum and Davis Mills splitting time at quarterback while Stroud was out.
yeah, Stroud was out for a concussion, and Cleveland won 36-22. I think with Stroud in there, the team is obviously different with Stroud in there.
Oh yeah.
Stroud's a far better quarterback than Keenum or Davis Mills. Even though I like Davis Mills, but I don't like I think Stroud is way 1,000 times better than Stroud. Um, and I think that's also the other turning point in this game because if I remember correctly, when they played, it was with Watson at quarterback, if I remember correctly.
Oh man, I don't know why I thought Flacco was already in for that, but maybe not.
You're right. It was Flacco. Okay.
Okay.
I guess it was later in the year than I thought it was. Because I thought it was like I thought it was
Dude, I think
I thought
Cleveland's a better team with Flacco than with Watson. I'm just saying it.
I think Cleveland's a better team with Flacco than with Watson. Yes, I think
Too bad that contract's guaranteed.
I think Watson is more of a threat than Flacco, and you have to defend more for against Watson than you do Flacco, which kind of
Yeah, but don't you think that if they had a healthy Nick Chubb, I don't know, dude. I think that Flacco being a more traditional quarterback with Nick Chubb healthy makes it a very I don't know, like to me that it makes it right on offense. I think
yeah.
with Watson, I know Chubb got hurt very, very early.
Hmm.
I think just Watson number one doesn't look like the Houston Texans Watson, the that was like looking phenomenal. And then, with him and Chubb, there was a lot of concern about, well, what's Chubb's role going to be with Watson at quarterback because they're moving to a shotgun offense. And, I don't know. I know I'm kind of going on a tangent there, but, I like what Flacco's done. And I think he fits really well with that team.
Yeah. Another interesting stat, because in the playoffs I like to go into the officials, and the officials mean something. Look at the fucking Lions Dallas game. I'm just gonna say that the
Yeah.
officials mean something. These two
Yeah.
teams were flagged the most this year, where the Browns were flagged 138 times, or not the most, the second most, and the Texans were flagged 132 times, the fifth most. Um, Browns opponents were flagged the most in the league at 133 times.
Okay.
The crew for the referee Clay Martin and his regular season crew threw the fourth fewest flags in the game, or in the season, at 12.4 per game.
Gotcha.
So don't look for a lot of penalties like a normal Cleveland or a normal Houston game.
Well, that's good because we want to see some good playoff football, not a bunch of fucking yellow flag bullshit football.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right, so you're taking Cleveland.
Oh, sorry, I didn't actually go to my pick. I'm gonna actually, I actually am going with Houston.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let me change this here. Keeping your confidence the same?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and you and I would say on the confidence part, we're the same, right? We had it as one of our lower confidence
Uh-huh.
numbers. So you had it at a two, I had it at a two. Um, I'm taking Cleveland here, and part of it is when I look at this, it's a tough game to pick because I like both these teams a lot, but ultimately, Cleveland's defense is the top defense in the league this year. Baltimore is looking pretty goddamn close, to be honest, but especially early in the year, Cleveland was like on a totally different level on defense. And when it comes playoff time, it's the old saying, defense wins championships. I trust that. And, you know, I think Flacco is wanting a piece of Baltimore in the playoffs. I think he's got a ton of motivation. Not to say that Houston doesn't, but um, I just like Cleveland a little bit more. And you said you had it at 27-21, right? So a 6 point
Yeah.
spread. Okay, so yeah, my model actually has it as a 6 point spread, but it's tricky, right? Because Houston's been outperforming my model all year. And so I could see it being a little bit tighter than that. Either way, though, I'm going to pick the Browns, man.
All right. Then we have the fucking Peacock game, the Miami Dolphins at the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Everything and their mother says Tua Tagovailoa can't play in cold weather. He's played 4 games in cold weather, lost all 4 of them. Problem is, and they played earlier in the season, and the Chiefs kind of held Tyreek Hill in check with only 62 yards. Um, the problem with the
Yeah, Kansas
Chiefs,
City won that game, right?
yeah, Kansas City won that game. The problem with the Chiefs is since week 9, they have looked worse and worse and worse, and they don't have anybody who appears could catch the ball if it was placed in their hands.
Mm. Did they just get Mecole Hardman back?
Did they?
Not that, not that he's some stud, right? But he was a part of their Super Bowl run as like one of those veterans that was kind of like getting a piece here and there.
Did they get Hartman back?
Let me look. I thought he just got healthy recently.
He
One
might
day
be
ago,
back.
Matt Nagy on possible increased role for Mecole Hardman. So, I mean, I don't know that that's, I don't know how much that moves the needle, but I think it does move it a little bit when you think about how they were in the playoffs last year, right?
Yeah, so the only person on the Chiefs that can really catch the ball is Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Interesting aspect of the Chiefs this year.
Well, and Jerick McKinnon.
Interesting aspect of the Chiefs this year is they have been called for offensive holding more than any other team in the league. 33 times this year.
Wow, I would not have expected that, but okay. I mean, I guess
And
Mahomes has probably been having to hold onto the ball like way more than normal, right?
the problem is most of Miami's pass rushers are hurt, so it might not be as. But Brad Rogers, the referee, threw the second most flags for offensive holding the entire season at 48.
Gotcha.
My model has Kansas City beating the shit out of Miami, 34-19, which is why this got my 1 point confidence level, and I'm picking Miami to win.
All right, yeah. So you're bucking the model.
Yeah.
You're just going all against the model tonight. I know that that's the trend here, but all right, yeah. So for me, I'm taking the Chiefs. Like you're saying, it's not the team we're used to seeing, especially rolling into the playoffs. And as the season went on, we would have thought they would have gotten better. They really didn't. But with all that being said, I really do not like the way that Miami finished the year, giving up the number 2 seed. To me, they shit the bed, and that leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. I think offensively, they've got a ton of firepower. Defensively, they leave a lot to be desired. They had Bradley Chubb go down a few weeks ago. I think they had another guy go down last week in that Buffalo game. And I think maybe next year their defense gets a huge boost, right? Because they're
Mm.
going to have a full year with Vic Fangio. They're going to have a full off season to like kind of tweak the personnel to fit his scheme. But this year it just didn't come along the way I thought it would. So they're kind of like a mostly offensive team. And the weather will be a factor in this game, unfortunately. Like you say, hey, it's football, these guys can do this. But like you're pointing out, there are players that sometimes they just don't do well in colder weather games. And, um, I think there's risk of that. I think Tyreek Hill wants a piece of the Chiefs bad, but, um, you know, it's hard to bet against Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, right? In the
Yeah,
playoffs. It,
it
it just
is.
seems like they're going to dial it in at home. And so I'm taking the Chiefs. I gave it my lowest confidence factor because I do like Miami a lot. Um, but yeah, ultimately I got to go Chiefs, man.
All right. So next we have the Steelers at the Bills. Um,
Go Bills.
this is a concerning game for me because Mason Rudolph has been real hot.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's been real fucking hot. Pittsburgh excels at running inside runs. They don't really run outside. they pound it down your throat. And Buffalo kind of sucks at defending inside runs, allowing on an inside run 4.6 yards per carry, which is surprising. This is the first. These are the two. They're the two first playoff team, or their first playoff teams, because both of them fired. Let me start this over. Both teams fired their offensive coordinator midseason, becoming the first playoff teams to have an in-season coordinator change since the 2012 Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
And Steelers are looking for their first playoff win since 2016.
I know, dude.
And I could go with the Steelers in this game. One thing I kind of jokingly said, I don't know if I said it to you or somebody else, when the Steelers traded for Minka Fitzpatrick from Dolphins, I said the Dolphins will win a playoff game before the Steelers do. And so I could go with the Steelers because the Dolphins will have won before the Steelers do.
Oh, geez. On a technicality.
All technicalities, they would have won before the Steelers did.
You sneaky bastard.
But you're not going to go with it. I'm not going to go with the Steelers. The Bills are 13-2 in home playoff games since 1970. I know that's a long time, but they don't really lose at home. Buffalo, you're going to have.
Oh, yeah. The Bills Mafia.
You think you're getting snow there? You think you're getting snow there? I heard the weather forecast, and I want to say it was like, I'll look it up because it might have changed. I want to say that they were expected to get like 15, 20 inches this week.
Oh, I'm sure. I remember last year they had that one snowstorm. They had 6 feet, man. They were saying there was just as much snow as fucking Josh Allen's tall.
Yeah. Blah 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 blah. Man. So, oh no. It's supposed to be a high of 24 degrees with wind gusts near 50 miles an hour.
Oh yeah. So you need a guy like Josh Allen with that freaking rocket arm to be able to throw in that kind of wind.
Although the last time, okay, this would be some of the highest wins ever recorded in an NFL game. The 1982 AFC Championship game between the Bengals and the San Diego Chargers featured sub-zero temperatures and wind gusts past 50 miles an hour. The last time you had 50-plus mile an hour wind was when the Bills lost to the Patriots in December 21, 14-10. And they're also, on top of the 50 mile an hour wind, they're supposed to get 7 inches of snow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the thing that makes me nervous about that, right, is that last year Buffalo got shocked by Cincinnati in the snow. And we thought Buffalo was going to be the team to have the advantage in the snow. And so that gives me a little bit of pause, to be honest.
It does. It gives me a lot of pause. My model has it as a 21-7 victory for Buffalo. And what I said this at the beginning, it boils down to Mason Rudolph. If Mason Rudolph plays like he has the last couple weeks, Pittsburgh probably will win this game. I don't think he can keep it going. I think he's going to turn back into a pumpkin, and Buffalo's going to win the game.
Yeah, and I mean, here's my problem with that, James, is that you're saying up to 50 mile an hour wind. A big part of Mason Rudolph's game is those fucking teardrop bomb deep passes. Mm-hmm. You can't do that shit in 50 mile an hour wind, man.
I know you can't, and that's why what I'm saying is he's going to
Yeah.
look like he turned back into a pumpkin.
Yeah. No, I got you. I got you. I guess I'm just supporting it.
Yeah.
I'm supporting it in my negative tone.
I'm
Um,
I'm going with Buffalo. I'm giving it a 4, so it's my third. It's right in the middle on confidence rating for the game for this weekend because I think there's a chance Pittsburgh could win, but I think there's less of a chance Pittsburgh could win than I guess 3 other games.
sure, I got you.
I mean,
Well, I'm taking.
the 3 of the games that I'm going against my model. I think this is the only one I'm going with my model on this weekend.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, by the way, all of mine are with the model. I was hoping I could buck one of them because I don't always like taking the favorites, but just
Yeah.
didn't work out this week. For me, I've got Buffalo, and I'm giving them a 6 confidence factor. Of course, you're now rattling my confidence as we talk about the snow factor, but I still think Buffalo gets it done. The one thing that is overlooked with Buffalo is that they had a really shaky first half of the year, and they dialed it in the second half, especially when it mattered the most in the last couple games.
Hmm.
A lot of that shakiness was Josh Allen just being a turnover machine. All right. But if you put that aside for a second and you look at the stats, they're fourth on offense, they're ninth on defense, and then offensively, they've got the number 8 passing offense and the number 7 rushing offense. I think they've come leaps and bounds in their rushing game with James Cook, taking some of that pressure off of Josh Allen. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, man, they're barely hanging in there. They're like 25th on offense, 21st on defense. They're winning games in really kind of strange fashion where they're being super tight with ball control and they're waiting for the other team to make a mistake. Yeah, you could argue Josh Allen is going to have the turnover in this game, but I also think that they're just so much more there's so much more firepower with Buffalo that it's just going to be hard for Pittsburgh to keep up in this game. And honestly, whether you want to say that this is a factor or not, uh, I mean, we know T.J. Watt's out. That's definitely a factor.
Hmm.
But Sean McDermott, I believe, is actually coaching for his job. Uh,
It's a good point.
nobody's nobody's really saying that, but they're expecting him to get to the fucking Super Bowl at some point here while Josh Allen's still got these prime years, or they're going to move on from him. And so I think he's desperate for a win and desperate to make a playoff run, or he could be a surprise firing next week if they lose. And so, yeah, I'm taking Buffalo, man.
All right. Is this the game? Can we skip this game? Oh no,
Well, I don't
not
think we
this one.
can, but yeah, let's, yeah,
No, it's the next game I want to skip and not talk about. I just don't
sure.
want to talk about it. Just don't want to talk about it. All right. So we have the Packers at the Cowboys. I don't know what the fuck is up with my model, but my model has the Packers winning this game 29-28.
Hmm, that's a bit freaky.
Dak Prescott and Jordan Love ranked 1-2 in touchdown passes this season. 36 for Prescott, 32 for Love.
Yeah, fucking Jordan Love out of nowhere, that motherfucker.
The Packers are 5-0 at AT&T Stadium all time, including playoffs. 4-0 against the Cowboys, plus the Super Bowl win over the Steelers. That's
I didn't
fucking
realize they'd been there that long.
yeah. Wow, that one threw me for a loop. That one threw me. That's probably what my model's picking up on. I don't know what my model's picking. I don't know why my model has Green Bay winning this game. And I've been trying to figure it out.
It's because they're boom or bust, man. Maybe your model says, "Yep, this is the boom." Maybe your model's saying Detroit's got to knock out Stafford, and then they got to knock out the Packers, and then they can, just smooth sailing from there. Maybe
Well,
that's
no,
what the
because
NFL
they
scripted.
wouldn't even play the Packers next.
I guess that's true. All right, thanks for pointing that out.
They would play Philadelphia or Tampa Bay.
Okay. So then they would play the Packers the week after.
The Cowboys led the league by getting 43 first downs by penalty.
Wow. Usually, like in the McCarthy era, it's the other way where the penalties have gone against them.
So, and also Cowboys opponents have been flagged for 31 times for defensive pass interference, defensive holding, or illegal contact. And that's 43. 30, but the Packers have been flagged the 7th fewest times for pass-related defensive fouls at 16.
Okay.
Or coverage fouls. I don't like Dak Prescott. I don't like Jordan Love.
I mean, dude, Dallas has been one of the toughest teams to play when they're at home.
Except for as of late.
Well, I mean, what?
Except for the Detroit game.
Yeah, but okay, so one game all year.
Yeah, and the Cowboys are 8-0 at AT&T Stadium.
You mean, yeah, they're 7-1, but yeah, I know what you mean.
7-1.
Yeah, because they lost that game.
Yeah.
We're keeping the real record, James.
Okay, so I want the Lions to go in there and beat them down next week. So I'm gonna override my model. Actually, my confidence is probably too high in this game based on a couple of the things I said. I'm gonna actually switch this to a 5, but I'm gonna go with Dallas.
Okay.
No,
so are you moving
I'm not
Philly
going to. No. I'm gonna go with a 6.
Okay. All right. I got to switch back.
Sorry, I looked at who I would be at 5. Like, I've tried to manipulate this and tried to figure out my confidence. I'm not confident in any of my picks this week. This is a boom or bust week for me. Like this will my model is going the opposite of everything my gut is telling me.
Well, I'm always nervous in this wild card weekend since we've been doing the picks. It's like last year somehow I pulled it out, but the first 2 years we did it, it's like basically it was over after the wild card weekend because I screwed them up so bad. So yeah, I don't know. It definitely adding that confidence factor. It changes it quite a bit, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah.
I'm
So
with Dallas
okay, you're with
at
Dallas.
6.
I'm taking Dallas. We've talked about it quite a bit. I think the one thing that I can say that we didn't cover is that Green Bay is definitely finishing the season strong, so they're coming in with momentum, right? They've won
Mm-hmm.
6 of their final 8 games,
Yeah.
but I still cannot get over the fact that Dallas is just a different kind of team when they play at home. And with Green Bay being such a boom or bust kind of team, uh, I think Dallas gets this, man. I really do. And I think this is another one where McCarthy needs this win, kind of like McDermott needs it in Buffalo. I think McCarthy needs this win in Dallas. I don't know that it's quite the same where he would be fired because Jerry Jones like made some comments and then like walked him back and whatever else this week. But you know, and just to go through the stats, the Cowboys are fifth on offense, fifth on defense. Dan Quinn is going to be a head coach next year.
Mm-hmm.
They need to capitalize on him being there this year, and I think he is going to lock it down against Green Bay because he knows he's getting a head coach job and he needs to keep it looking good. And so I'm taking Dallas, man, and I'm giving it a 4 of my confidence interval.
All right. So now we have the Matthew Stafford return to Ford Field to play the
Don't
Lions
stress
in
out
the
so much,
playoffs.
man. I see the
Um,
stress all over you.
Matthew Stafford has an average of 277.7 yards per game at Ford Field. That is the 4th highest in NFL history by any quarterback at a single stadium. And that's after playing for 12 seasons for the Lions.
Okay.
These are 2 former number 1 picks that were basically traded for each other.
Yeah.
The Lions, the key to the Lions' victory is rushing the ball out of 11 personnel. 1 tight end, 1 back. The reason for that is because out of 11 personnel, according to, I didn't know who it was according to, the, where'd it go? I didn't know it. According to ESPN, where the fuck is it? I just reread it and now I can't fucking find it. Okay, here it is. The Rams allowed 4.9 yards per carry against 11 personnel. Good news, bad news situation for the Lions. You know how like it feels like every other call, every other time the quarterback's hit, there's a roughing the passer flag thrown?
Yes.
The Lions all season were called for roughing the passer 6 times, which is tied for the 4th most in the league. But the referee, Craig Rolstad, only threw 4 flags for roughing the passer during the season, which is tied for the 6th fewest. So it doesn't make sense on how that worked. This is according to ESPN. So
Okay.
I'm trusting their numbers. My model has the Rams going into Detroit winning 29-27.
I mean, if you take the Rams, you know I'm just going to punch you right in the dick the next time I see you.
I can't pick against the Lions. I mean, fuck, I jokingly picked them to the Super Bowl in our way too early predictions. And, wait, no, because I didn't have the Rams making the West. I'll give this at my 3 confidence level, and I'm going to go with the Lions.
Okay.
And I was really concerned that this game was going to be put on Peacock. I was going to be so pissed off, and I was going to come in bitching if this game was put on Peacock.
We would have been lighting something on fire.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm with you. I'm taking the Lions. Also 3 confidence. The thing that seems strange to me about this game, and maybe it's because I'm in the Detroit area, is that everyone I talk to, but the thing is, I even hear this on the radio and on TV. I see it. So many people are basically giving the Rams 0 chance in this game, which to me sounds good and all, but I cannot put anything past them. When you look at the NFL stats, Detroit is 3rd on offense. The Rams are 7th. Okay, not that far off. On defense, the Lions are 19th and the Rams are 20th. These teams are actually very, very tightly matched, despite what the lineups rosters might tell you for the player ratings, which would give Detroit a favorable boost.
Hmm.
The Rams have hung in there in games, especially in the second half of the season. They've really dialed it in. Um, I do worry a lot about the Laporta injury. They're saying he's questionable for this game. I don't think he's going to play. And if he does, I think it's going to be sparingly. I don't know why they would even risk it with him because
I
he
think
needs to.
if
Sorry,
I
go
think
ahead.
if Laporta plays, it will only be as a decoy.
I could see that. And even then, man, why play with fire?
I
You've
agree
got
with you.
like a freaking diamond in the rough at tight end. Don't ruin next year because you got crazy about this next game.
Hmm.
Um, and then with the Lions, James, you know how I feel, man. For as good as they've been, I really worry about their depth. I also worry about the depth for the Rams. This is probably the weakest Rams roster we've seen in a very long time. But the Lions' defense is my concern. Stafford, Nakua, Cup, Kyron Williams. You know, I just, I don't know, man. So many people are talking about the Lions. I just don't want to overlook the Rams. I believe Ford Field's going to be electric. I think that can be a huge factor for us. I'm definitely taking the Lions. I
And
just could see this.
it's a primetime game. Under Dan
Okay,
Campbell, like the Lions are 5-1 on primetime games.
gotcha. Yeah. I could just see it being really close. I will tell you this, just as sort of like a sub sort of side note to this. I heard that Stafford's wife was bitching on her like podcast or whatever that she requested a like a suite at Ford Field and the team denied her. Well, are you fucking kidding me? We're not showing you any special privilege when you come back to play us in the playoffs.
Uh-huh.
Fuck you for even thinking you could ask that. So I don't know. I'm hoping we push their shit in. We win this game. It'll be, you know, for the Lions, it'll be sort of like sweet redemption for the Stafford trade, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
and we need it. We need it. So yeah, I'm taking Detroit, my man.
All right. Then we have the last game, the Monday night game, which is the Eagles at Tampa Bay. What this kind of boils down to is which team I trust more. Both teams, I'm way down on Baker Mayfield. Both teams have kind of been limping into the playoffs. Baker Mayfield literally limping into the playoffs with an ankle injury. But also in Week 18, Jalen Hurts hurt his finger on his throwing hand, which is a concern. Baker Mayfield also has rib injuries. I just don't like Baker Mayfield. I don't like Tampa Bay. I don't like Todd Bowles as a head coach. I think Philadelphia, even though they've struggled, ugh, I
You're
don't
letting all
like this
these
game
picks
at all.
just stress you out, man.
I don't like this game at all. I don't want to play Philadelphia. I'd rather play Tampa Bay. My model has Tampa Bay winning 21-20, so I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay wins. But I'm going to go with Philadelphia, and it leaves 5 confidence for me. I just don't like it, but it is what it is.
But you're rolling with it.
I'm rolling with it.
Well, we're matched up on this one too. I'm taking Philly with a 5, and um, I think experience matters. Okay, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, all these guys, they have the experience, and I think that matters in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield does not have the experience. Todd Bowles, yeah, kind of, but not as a head coach. And I just, when I look at it, it's like, all right, so, um, man, this one actually just kind of shocked me. I'll come back to it, but I think that Philly gets the benefit of playing the NFC South winner, right? We thought it was going to be Dallas, and
Hmm.
then Dallas ended up taking the division. With the way Philly has been sort of fizzling out down the stretch, I think that this is the most favorable matchup they can have if they're going to get right in the playoffs. With Tampa Bay, they're super streaky and unreliable on offense. I think Philly can capitalize on that. My concern here, James, and this is a shock both ways. I'm just going to be honest. Philly, according to NFL.com, is the number 8 offense. Okay, they're 26 on defense. That goes to show you how much they've struggled with this defensive coordinator change. I didn't realize they were that low. But now flipping it over the other way, I am blown away that the Buccaneers defense is ranked 23rd because that's Todd Bowles' bread and butter,
Hmm.
highly talented defense. I would have thought they would have been a lot higher than that. And so I don't know, man. I get it. It's in Tampa. I still got to take Philly with the 5 confidence factor, my man.
All right, and that's the last game of the weekend. Unless you had additional thoughts on the games this weekend, do you want to take it away with question of the week?
Yay, question of the week time. Oh, we're like 2+ hours deep in the show, so I'll just keep it light here and nothing crazy, James. We had 8 head coach openings. There's 7 of them now. I just wanted to get your opinion on which one is the most attractive and why. And while you're thinking about it, I'll give you mine. I think it's a no-brainer thing. I think most people are saying this, and I just agree with it. To me, it's the Los Angeles Chargers. They have talent on almost every level on each side of the ball, but more importantly, they have Justin Herbert. When you can go into a situation where you have not just a franchise quarterback, but like a top 5 quarterback, you
Hmm.
know, that you can't get any better than that. And now I know some people are pointing out that they sort of have some salary cap issues they got to deal with. But who the fuck are we kidding, man? We live in this fake cap world where you can manipulate it freaking, 10 ways to Sunday or whatever that you just can't worry about the cap. The franchise quarterback is where it's at. I think they're the obvious pick. If I was going to give an honorable mention, just because it's such an obvious pick, I would probably say Washington, which might be a little bit of a surprise. But I think Washington, because they have the number 2 overall pick in the draft, they can land that franchise quarterback. And they also have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. They've got a good running back, a good wide receiver, and they've got talent on defense. Honestly, I kind of like Washington as a place for a guy like Vrabel to go if he's thinking, hey, get me that quarterback, the young one. I could have a 10, 15+ year career with this team. Get it right at the quarterback, and Vrabel could be like a match made in heaven there, man.
So you made some good points with Washington for being honorable mention. When you said it, I was gonna argue with you, but I understand where you're coming with on that. I agree with you 100% with the Chargers. Like, if you look at the last 3 years, if it weren't for coaching decisions, they were a playoff team. Aside from this year is kind of an anomaly because Herbert got hurt. Herbert is a phenom. Herbert is obviously the franchise quarterback. You have a phenomenal franchise quarterback, top, like you said, top 5. You have pieces on defense. Salary cap means jack shit in this league. I 100% agree with you. It's hands down an obvious choice, the Chargers.
All right, so what do you think? I mean, man, here, how about this? Vrabel to the Chargers and bring Derrick Henry with you. Say goodbye to Austin Eckler because he didn't get it done this year anyhow, and he's complaining about his contract. Give Henry a 2-year deal, really knowing that this next year is what it's all about, and just freaking, I don't know, dude. I just think, if you give Vrabel a quarterback and the pieces on defense, he's going to be golden.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And Vrabel, how many years did we keep saying they gave him less and less talent in Tennessee, and he still was winning? And then the next year they took away more talent, and he'd still make the playoffs. And then
Yeah.
the next year, so Vrabel, I can't imagine how phenomenal a team. But my concern with Vrabel is his bread and butter getting that team getting that untalented people to overachieve, or can he motivate the talented people the same way? I'm just saying it's a possible concern. I'm not saying that it's
I
it's
think he
it's a
would. I
fact.
think he would be able to do it with the defense.
Yeah,
I do
and
worry that maybe Keenan Allen is turning into a little bit of a bad seed, you know, and some of that's just pure speculation. But he's
yeah,
had these strange injuries where he's just not playing, and it's like, what the fuck's going on? But I think that if that's the case, you bounce a guy like Keenan Allen, you trade
hmm
him, and you just let a guy like Eckler walk, and you just say, hey, this is my fucking team now. You go out, you fill those couple pieces, and you
yeah,
let it run, man.
true.
All right, well that's all I had for question of the week. So yeah, I think that's the show, man. Do you have any closing thoughts for this evening?
I think that I think I spewed all I wanted to spew.
Yeah, we spit it all out there. Two
Yeah.
2 hours 15 minutes or something, but yeah, hey, I thought it was a good show. I actually really enjoy this show every year. And so, for anybody who's watching, we hope you liked it. If you did, thumbs up, like, whatever platform you're on. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. We're losing subscribers. It's crazy. Uh, but, James, hey, man, it's been good, dude. I hope you have a good night, bud. I'll catch you later, man.
All right, sounds good. Have a good one.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.